Hello friends and welcome back to my channel for another custom 1/12 scale soft goods figure. Today we're going to be making KANEDA from AKIRA. I recently watched the movie for the first time ever. I know. I've read a fair bit of the manga, and the design of KANEDA's bike has always been super dope and appealing to me. And I decided after having finally watched it, you know what, I need a representation of that on my shelf. So I tracked down one of these McFarlane bikes and we're going to make a KANEDA to go with them. So first we'll take a look at all the supplies, then we'll get to it. All right, taking a look at everything that's going into this build. First and foremost, we've got the McFarlane KANEDA bike. Now, I got this on eBay, still in box for a very, very good price. I mean, these typically go for over 100 bucks. I got it for, I think like 58 shipped. Pretty crazy deal. I was very excited to find that. The body's a slim mix max body. I don't know where you can get these anymore, honestly. I hope they make more. The head I got off of eBay. I believe this is like a Korean actor or a K-pop star. I don't know exactly who it is. I basically had to scroll through hundreds of listings from this seller's action figure heads until I found one that would work for KANEDA, because I wanted this to be a more realistic look. The outfit is from GPS Lot on eBay, and that's where I get most of my soft goods, as do most customizers in this scale, I think. And they already just had this made, so I mean, it's pretty plug and play. Got the little pads and everything sewn on it. That's going to be great because I get to just slide that on and be done. The goggles are very similar to what KANEDA has in the manga and the anime. These are from a Mattel Nightmare Batman from BVS. And these are a little bit flexible and they actually do fit on the head. For the boots, I'm going to be using this McFarlane Toys Neo figure. These work really well for like a real world style look to KANEDA. And the best part is I've been told by my buddy Tanuki Ninja Reborn on Instagram that these boots just plug right into this body's shins. So hoping that goes smoothly. KANEDA also has gloves. I'm going to be using these wrist pieces from a Mezco Netflix Daredevil as the top half of the glove, and then the bottom half is going to be from a Mezco Blade figure. This one should be pretty easy. The hardest part, I hope, is just going to be painting the head, which I'm getting more zen with now, and it's less of an undertaking, more of just like a fun exercise. So we're gonna get this guy assembled first, and then I'll paint the head last, and then we'll get a look at him on the bike. Okay, outfit's on the body. It fits quite nicely. What I need to do now, I got the boots ready, and they do plug right into this body, so that's pretty rad. I'm very, very happy to know that. Shout out to my guy Tanuki Ninja for letting me know, because again, otherwise I probably never would have thought of this. I want the pants to have a little bit of bunching at the bottom just because I feel like it looks a little more natural. So what I'm going to try to do is give myself a little bit of extra room, and then I need to cut this and glue it to the base of the leg here. This kind of thing is tough because you get like one shot to do it right. You always got to be careful, your measurements and everything. Okay, taking my Bob Smith Industries CA glue. I really like this stuff. It cures quickly. You get really good stick out of it. I'll put a link in the description below if you want some. I use this on pretty much all of my model builds as well when I make my vehicles and stuff. All right, we've got KANEDA all put together except for the head, and I'm really liking how these gloves worked out. So much so, I was thinking about painting them like a brown leather color like they are in the anime and the manga, but I think this looks pretty dope, especially with this like red accent on there. So I might just keep them like that. Because again, this is a more like kind of realistic version, not supposed to be a one-to-one of the manga or the anime. So if you follow my channel, you know that I love the little details, and this jacket is missing a few of them, so we're gonna add those. This should be more of a fold-over thing with like a collar strap. Now I've got all this extra red pleather material, so that's enough to make one of those straps. So what I'm gonna do is cut a strap size piece out of this, and then that is gonna get attached to this part of the collar. He also has these straps that are like these kind of silver tabs that come out of the jacket here, and we're gonna make those using some of this thin craft foam. That's just gonna give it that much more detail and make it look that much cooler. Okay, I got this little piece glued together, and I trimmed the end so that it would be more rounded. That's on there, and that just gives it much more of a, you know, an added little detail to bring it a little bit more to life. Okay, so these little silver tabs are drying now. To paint these, I used one of these Molotow liquid chrome pens. I'll put a link in the description below. This is one of the most useful tools I have in my supply kit, so highly recommend getting one of these. They paint stuff to make things look like metal. It's really dope. There's a sheen to these you don't get with just like a regular silver paint, so highly recommend this stuff if you don't have it already. So we're gonna let these dry before we attach them, and then in the meantime, I'm gonna get to painting that head. So we've got KANEDA's head all painted up here, and some of the details are getting blown out by the light, but I did a lot of texture, like speckling, to give it a more realistic skin look. I do have a painting tutorial on heads on my channel where I painted a Heath Ledger Joker. I will be updating with a new one eventually that covers somebody who doesn't have makeup on their face. Pretty pleased with how this turned out. Yeah, I just love the way painting these things really brings them to life. I did a brown undercoat on the hair. I did that to make it so it wasn't just fully black, because if you look at black hair, there's usually some kind of reddish or brown highlights in there. Depending on, you know, the person. So layering it up like that gives it a more realistic look with some depth to it. All right, let's get this on the body and take a look at the finished result. All right, here's KANEDA all wrapped up. I'm super happy with how this looks. You know, as I mentioned at the outset, I wanted to do a more realistic take on the character. And I forgot to mention earlier, this is somewhat based on a painting I did recently after watching the movie. I'll insert that here into the video. And I was like, you know what, it'd be really cool to have this on my shelf. You know, a big chunk of my collection is dedicated to the characters that I love and the iconic vehicles that they are known for. He's joining the ranks of Zorro and his horse Tornado, Michael Knight and Kit from Knight Rider, several Batmobiles and Batman, etc. So this is a lot of fun. It's always nice to have a real pop of color as well. So let's take a bit of a closer look here. Now the nice thing about this body and this suit is that it maintains all of the articulation that it had. You can do everything with this guy that you could with that Mix Max body. I painted the goggles a bit so they have a dark wash on them, and then I did the silver buckle bits on them just to give it a little more detail and make it look less flat. And then, yeah, the boots, again, just straight up from that Matrix figure. They don't have ankle articulation, but that's fine because he's going to be sitting on his bike anyway. Again, this is from GPS Lot on eBay, so you can look them up. They have a ton of soft goods for action figures. I love that it has the decal on there. I mean, that's just incredible, and it's like really clear, really well printed on there. I got the straps onto the jacket there. Got this top strap up here, and this guy just looks awesome. So let's take a look at him on the bike, because I think that's what we're all waiting for. And here's KANEDA on that McFarlane bike, and this just looks so sick. I'm so hyped on this. I really, really love this. It's so nice to have a big pop of color on the shelves too. You know, I mentioned all these vehicles I have, they're all black or gray for the most part. So having something that really just sticks out like that is a nice, you know, focal point. I just love it. So if you'll notice, this is the pose that I used in that painting as well. And I figured, you know, it looked pretty cool in the painting, so I might as well put them on the shelf like this. He's butt cracking a little bit back there, but we won't tell anybody. These Mix Max bodies aren't the best, but they do have a lot of articulation, so you can get a pretty good range of poses out of them. You know, anatomically, they're a little inaccurate and they're a little stiff in certain spots, you know, in terms of posture and whatnot. But once you can get them to hit the right pose, I think they really sing. All right, you know, this was a pretty easy one. I just finished that Kit Knight Rider build that I mentioned, and that thing was a beast, and it took months and months. So I was ready for something that was a little less difficult, and I'm glad that I gave myself a break and did something fun like this that wasn't too strenuous. So this base is from a DC Direct Dark Knight Returns 4-pack. My neighbor happens to be a collector, and he's really into Batman, and he wasn't going to use this, and he was like, hey, do you want this sidewalk thing? And I was like, hell yeah. It ended up being the perfect base for KANEDA here. So it's going to sit on my shelf like that. This is a clear acrylic box that I picked up for this. I've used these on the channel before. If you want to check out my Mezco Predator review, you can see one in action there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and show you all what I'm talking about. So here's the case, and you can see, yeah, it fits in nicely. It's going to protect it from dust. These are pretty inexpensive on Amazon. They have several different sizes. So this is one of the larger ones. I don't remember exactly the dimensions, but I'll put a link in the description below. I really like having this kind of thing to keep my stuff free of dust and just, you know, keep it. Some of this old McFarlane plastic stuff can get kind of gunky in a weird way. So yeah, the more it's encased, the better off you'll be. That's going to do it for this week's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. This is a great example of the kind of stuff that I post regularly on here. There's a whole backlog of videos and stuff like this if you want to check them out. If you enjoy manga like AKIRA and other comics, please stay tuned for a trailer for my graphic novel Retroactive. The setup is kind of James Bond meets Groundhog Day. It's a time travel spy thriller where a special agent is caught in a time loop and has to figure his way out to save the day. If you have any questions about anything I used in this video or anything I mentioned, drop them in the comments below and I will happily get back to you. Until next time, keep your head on swivel.